Welcome to this edition of the Phil Taylor Jones Show. We're going to be talking about what else? Another debate, this time by the Democrats. And the host station was CNN. But if you notice, the moderators are a lot different for the Democrats than they are the Republicans. They're a lot more gentle. And last night, I don't even think I heard that bell go off even once. Of course, the moderator kept saying, okay, Senator, okay, Ms. Secretary, okay. And still trying to cut them off. Ridiculous. There are only two candidates on stage. Why not give them ample time to finish their questions? Or their answers, excuse me. Nothing too much to go with this time. There was a little bit of a skirmish between Slithery Clinton and Bernie together, Sanders. Clinton with her usual head up, oh bastard's butt. This time I wonder how his brain tastes, because with each debate she seems to go a little deeper or a little further up. Pretty soon she's gonna disappear within him. Bernie Sanders knocked it out the park as far as it goes, or for whatever it's worth. I believe he answered the questions with great specificity. He gave more honest answers, in my opinion, than did she. He's just a more likable person than she is. This woman is very cold-hearted, and everything that comes out of her mouth has no air of sincerity, in my opinion. She is just a worthless, empty person. You know, she has no heart. I think she's totally devoid of feelings. She has no feelings. Just a waste of skin. As I've said many times before, I like Bernie Sanders. I really do. I like the things that he says. To some degree, I believe the things that he says. But the thing that jams him up with me is the fact that he is too close. He is too much in praise of "oh bastard." Something came up last evening about what would he do as far as race relations in this country. Would he do anything that would be far and away from what "oh bastard" has done? And he came up with this totally asinine and idiotic answer that he would continue to build upon the great things that "oh bastard" has done as far as race relations. And that's when I almost had to go and get my bucket, you know, the toss my cookies. "Oh bastard" has done nothing to help race issues in this country. He, if anything, has been working very closely with people like Eric Holder and Al Sharpton and others to perpetuate this air of uneasiness in this country as far as race relations go. As I said before, there are many wonderful police officers out there that are towing the line every day trying to keep us safe. And good on you, mates, for doing that. But we also know there's a flip side to every coin, that there are some rogue jackasses out there that are in blue uniforms with guns affixed to their sides that don't mind blowing you from here to kingdom come if you're black. "Oh bastard" did anything about that? No. I think he helps to perpetuate this kind of thing. The only thing "oh bastard's" good for is making sure that his muzzy brethren are well taken care of. He's Johnny with a bullet with that one. Speaking of bullets, they touched on the gun control issue, and Bernie was there again saying it is not right for the government to blame the gun manufacturers or the gun retailers for mass murders if they should occur. And I totally agree with that. Why would you want to blame somebody for making something and then another person for selling it? Now, if the sale is totally legal and above board, it should not be contested. as far as the gun being made, the gun is made. And if you're going to argue that point, then everything that is manufactured and sold in this country and something should go awry, then are you going to sell, or are you going to sue rather, or prosecute, or whatever, those makers and sellers? You do that, and I doubt very seriously that there'd ever be anything made or sold in this country again. So, I mean, somewhere, somehow, people have got to get some brains about them and understand that while this gun issue is a hot button issue, especially for Democrats, I never once hear them say we need to target the filmmakers, the television makers, the record producers, the video game producers, and all of these people who are just as much at fault as the shooter himself. We know that everybody in this country is not of a strong mind or will. Some are very easily led. Some with diminished capacity sit up and play these horrid games, first-person shooter games all day long, and then can't differentiate between what's real and what's game. And they go out and kill up 1 million people because to them it's just a game. Every conflict that you see in the movies or on telly ends with somebody pulling out a gun, blowing somebody away. I remember watching a movie once where, I can't remember which one it was, but this guy bumped into the other guy. You know, just in an accident, he wasn't paying attention. The guy pulls the gun out and blows him away. And this is what we're taking in our minds all the time. On the internet, you know, every medium that you should look at has got gun violence in it. But nothing is said about that. Why? Because of greed. People will do and say or ignore or bring to the forefront anything if it has a dollar attached to it. And the movie industry, the video game industry, probably produces much more money than does the gun industry. And nobody says a bloody word about it. So if you're going to take on one part of, you know, an animal, you need to take on the other part of the animal. From head to tail, take it on and bring it out and see what you can do to improve things and make things safer for the entire population. Just don't hang on to gun people. Just don't talk about the NRA. Talk about everything. The movie industry, everything plays into everything else. And Slithery Clinton is a master at, you know, leaving off some stuff. I think it was said that either Sanders, was it Sanders or, no, it had to be Sanders, that agrees with some part of what Raphael Cruz agrees with. And I said, well, on the flip side of that, as far as Slithery Clinton is concerned, she has that little stupid giggle and that little stupid smile, just like Raphael Cruz. So she and he could be brother and sister on that one. I don't really have too much to say on this democratic debate, although I did appreciate the fact that some of the questions that were asked of these two candidates came from the audience, which is always a great thing to see. I don't like to see 6-figure, 7-figure moderators or news whores asking questions of candidates that are running for office that has to do with my life. I'd rather ask the question because I'm going to ask the tough question. So that was good to see that. In fact, we should see more of that. There should be moderators there just to keep track of the time and to make sure that the candidates don't go off the rails like the ones in the Sluglickens debates. But let the questions come from the people who do most of the living and buying and working and dying in this country. They're the ones who should be asking the questions, not some 6 or 7-figure suit from the news whore realm. I must say that for whatever reason it was done, it was interesting to see that the debate was held in the city of Flint, where the water debacle problem has gone. Yes, they're calling for Rick Snyder's resignation, and in some cases his imprisonment. I find it interesting, and I wonder with great sincerity whether or not these two candidates would be as forceful with their resignation as would they be if the governor was a Democrat. Again, looking at the Republican debates, I wonder if they would have been as gratuitous towards Governor Rick Snyder had he been a Democrat. There's so much hypocrisy in both of these, what I would laughingly refer to as parties. As I said before, I don't look to any party. I try to look for a person to do what they need to do to take this country from where it is back to the good old days of where it was when everybody here prospered, when everybody here could depend on his or her leaders to get them in the mainstream of things. Again, they preach middle class this, middle class that. What about the homeless people who are of the lowest class? Do not they count for something? At least bring them to the forefront. It's a nasty, ugly stain upon this country, and something should and must be done about it. Remember, among those homeless are our veterans, the ones who fought for this rock. They spoke of education. Okay, education, fine. We could educate millions and millions of our own American youth if we weren't so busy trying to educate millions and millions of foreigners who don't belong here. It's ludicrous. Slithery Clinton spoke of when her wonderful, morally fit husband took office, we began to open up new jobs and we began to do so much for this country, which is true. But she failed to mention that they came into the White House on the coattails of a very successful Ronald Reagan presidency. There was a big surplus there that Ronald Reagan's Reaganomics helped to bolster. By the end of the Clinton debacle, this country was poor again because of the Democrats and their spin policy. George W. Bush inherited a mess and was not able to redeem it before this bastard got in there, which has created a bigger mess. By the time he leaves office, $21 trillion. And how are you going to fix it? I don't know that it can be fixed if you're still going under the business as usual program that these politicians seem to want to do. Being accepting of all these foreigners who they know can't take care of themselves, but come on in, we'll find some kind of way to help you, come on in. That's got to stop. For every dollar we spend on foreigners that don't belong here, we are digging 2 feet further down in the hole. Countries have borders for a reason. Let these people stay in their own countries and take care of this one. Another thing I liked very much about the Democratic debate, they didn't touch on any foreign policy crap. They stayed right here in this country where our problems lie, where our people are suffering every day because we are not getting the things we need to survive. 1, a decent job so that you can make a decent living. 2, a decent school so that your kids can have an education. 3, building our infrastructure so that people can get a decent drink of water. 4, trying to, make it so that hopefully one day this country may be what it should be. I don't know if it ever will be, but that's what they talked about, and that's where it should be. I find it ironic and I find it ludicrous and ridiculous that the Republicans, they didn't go to Flint, even if they didn't mean it. They didn't go. They didn't show their faces, at least not to my knowledge. And I find that ridiculous. If they had been there, I'm pretty sure there would have been some mention of it in this news horror media that we have. Oh, well, they're over there just trying to, make it a political issue. They didn't really care about the people. It would have come to the forefront in some kind of way, either negative or positive. People are suffering there. They're dealing with rusty, rotten pipes, as we all are. Even in the complex that I live in, we have to use a water purifier. It's a shame that we live in a big, technologically advanced country like this, and you still have to deal with issues of tainted water. Your children go to school with rats in the classroom bigger than they are, warped floors that make the outside look like a road to Mecca. Or did I say that? Mecca? Why did I say that? I guess I got the muzzies on my mind. Anyway, it's just unfathomable how this country has fallen from sugar to that other stuff. Used to be great. We used to produce things, all kinds of things. Now the best we can do is buy something that's made in China from workers who are paid 65 cents as the minimum wage. No wonder the stuff falls apart before you can take it out of the box. Somewhere something has to change, and I don't know who's going to do it, but hopefully it can get done, because if it doesn't, we just may fail to cease as a country and as a people. We've already lost ourselves so deeply in these foreigners, we can't even see straight. You can't even make a telephone call to a company without they ask you whether or not you want to speak English or some other language. That should never be in this country. If you can't speak English, tough nuggies. That should be your incentive to learn. You're never going to have people learn to do the American thing the American way if you coddle them in a foreign way. They come to your country, they dance your music. We need people in these offices that will ensure that. The one that's out there that's speaking in that way, he's being ridiculed, he's being maligned, he's being belittled, he's being impugned. Donald Trump. Like him or not, at least he's speaking to the tone of what the American people want. But there's a crooked value to everything that's going on in this country. Hard as Rubio or this other sleazeball Cruz may want to try to slip in there, he ain't going to make it. It's even questionable whether or not Trump could, because they've got their eyes on one slithery Clinton. And that's who your president will probably be, which will be a shame. It will be a very dismal prospect to have that woman anywhere in a leadership capacity. Well, I'm through with the Democratic debate. I'll ask the exec if he has something to add, and if not, we'll close out the show.
Well, what can I say? As far as the debate, I did respect that he had it in Flint, and they did have the actual people asking questions, and that was good of them to do. What I didn't like was Hillary Clinton not having enough respect for Bernie Sanders to let him finish his statements as he did. If you noticed, he would keep putting his hand up, letting the moderators know he wanted to chime in. He would try to open his mouth and say something, but then he'd stop himself. About 99% of the time. One time he actually cut her off. But she couldn't afford him the same privilege. 9 times out of 10 was Johnny with a bullet to interrupt him and cut him off. And she couldn't even do the same that he did for her, which wasn't right at all. And the moderators were okay with that for some reason. And she also made a very asinine statement when asked how would she handle Donald Trump if it were him and her running together. She made mention that out of the two parties, who has more delegates or votes than Trump does, and it was her. Well, obviously you're going to have more votes than him. There's only one person versus you, so there's going to be more votes to go around in your party than there is the Republicans. There's 4 people to you spread the votes across. So if you had 4 people in your party and you still had more votes than Trump, then that would have made sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make any kind of sense right now. So that was pretty, redundant in my opinion. And the debate was a little bit more mature, regardless of her interrupting him, than the last Republican one. That one was crazy. I guess that's all I got on my mind for this debate. Back to the host.
Well, as you said, that the Democratic debate was more mature than was the Republican, and you best better believe they didn't miss an opportunity to bring that to the forefront.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. The Republicans, they need to go and come again. And if that's the best they can do, then they shouldn't even have a debate next Thursday, because I know they're going to have a power-packed debate week. One of them is going to come on Wednesday, the other one's going to come on Thursday. But if that's the best they can do, then they shouldn't do that, because they make themselves nothing more than a laughing stock, both here and abroad. And, we don't need that from anybody. There's only 4 of them left. Kasich is the only one who tries to exhibit an air of maturity on that stage. But to those other 3, you need to be ashamed of yourselves. As much trouble and as much strife as people are going through, you sitting up there talking about somebody wet their pants or somebody's genitalia, that is ludicrous.
Insane.
And you got the nerve to call other people ludicrous, liberal lunatics? That's a bit of liberalism in itself. People don't want to know about anybody else's genitalia. We want to know about how you're going to pick up this country and make it great again, as you say, or whatever slogan you wish to use. That's the purpose and the crux of having the debates, not frivolous crap. So all of you need to grow up and get the job done. People are in strife. They are hurting. Do something about it besides act like a bunch of freaking children. I'm sick of that garbage. If you go back 4 years ago to the time when this stupid Mitt Romney was running for president against Bastard, there was a show we did. It was called Gentlemen, Stop Playing Games, and how profound that is, that I could basically produce another show with the same damn title. So I will say, gentlemen, stop playing games and get about the business of trying to get yourself into a position so that you can run this damn country. On that score, we'll say, thank you for joining us. We always are happy to have you with us. Thank you for your comments and well wishes. If you want to be a subscriber, you know what to do on that score. Meet us on Google Plus and circle us, or whatever you do there. We're on there quite frequently. And in this crazy, mixed up, nutty world full of crazy, mixed up, nutty politicians, try to remain happy, maintain some air of joy. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.